the depths of slumber as I ascend, I will whisper.
The Masters of Wisdom speak on how you are assisted on the path at this hour. The Bridge to Freedom Journal, September 1952. Lord Mahachohan. Man is a sevenfold being whose bodies, as instruments of the self, have been created through eons of time on the planets belonging to our physical sun. Through these 7 bodies, each divine self chose to develop the powers of conscious, controlled creation through the use of energy, the molding power of thought, and the life-giving essence of feeling. Working through the instruments of these vehicles, the self maintained the control and mastery over their activities. When man allowed his bodies to assume authority and independent activity without the directive intelligence of the God Self, the conscious and dignified descent of the divine presence into matter became instead the uncontrolled and hapless fall of man, without dignity, purpose, or design. It is our particular endeavor to restore man to his proper estate, his bodies to their useful function, and return the authority and dignity of directives to the God Self. This process is called the Ascension. Ascended Master Almoira. At the moment when any man applies for instruction on the law, he is placed under the scrutiny of his spiritual sponsor. The sponsor is chosen, usually, by the Mahachohan, and becomes, in fact, godfather to the aspirant. The 7 bodies through which the individual's consciousness is endeavoring to develop some sort of a life plan are carefully examined, and under the new dispensation, the teacher endeavors to develop those particular inner bodies that are most immature until there is a semblance of balance among the physical, emotional, mental, and etheric vehicles. The higher bodies need not come into the present discussion, for their expansion is the subject of a future work. Ascended Master Kuthumi. The initiate must be trained to center his consciousness within the rhythmic life flame in the physical heart, and from this premise, consciously delegate the energies to the body required to perform a specific function in the activities of manifest life. Most men are off balance because the vital essence of their consciousness lies either in the emotional body, the physical body, or the mental body, and in the case of the fanatical, in the etheric body. Thus you have a 4-wheeled chariot, with the charioteer riding under the rim of one of the revolving wheels. It is no easy task to disengage the consciousness from the center in which it has housed itself, sometimes for centuries, satisfying particular appetites of a physical, mental, or emotional nature, but that is the self-imposed responsibility of the guardian brothers. Ascended Master Venetian. The size and development of any man's bodies, inner as well as physical, is determined by the use to which he has put his energy through the centuries. Thus he has often starved several of his bodies and overfed one. The scholar has expanded and developed his mental body, often at the expense of his physical well-being. The man engaged in development of great physical dexterity is often without the sharpened and sensitive mental development which would go so well with his physical beauty. Because tendencies, habits, and preferences endure from embodiment to embodiment, most individuals are endeavoring to proceed through life in a chariot with one enormous wheel, and others sometimes no larger than a spool of thread. No wonder the ride becomes a difficult one. It is for us to develop and mature these undernourished vehicles, and, in kindness, remove from them the vampire greed that has builded through centuries of indulgence. Ascended Master Serapis Bey. While the sponsor is working with the Lords of Karma to provide the seemingly trying experiences in daily life, particularly required to develop strength and maturity in the retarded vehicles, The brothers of the ascension are constantly driving the consciousness back into the center, wherein the presence is found. The lash of pain, disillusionment, and suffering makes the aspirant cease to look outward for comfort and for guidance, and when we have driven the consciousness into the secret place of the Most High, we have prepared the meeting place, where soul and God Self find union, and the peace that passeth the understanding of the mind becomes the permanent experience of the individual. No longer does he look outward, but abiding within the center of his being, directs through his bodies the activities of each day. It is not an enviable position we hold from the standpoint of poor, bewildered mankind, but one that is a definite service to his ultimate victorious accomplishment. Ascended Master Hilarion. Although the greater mass of mankind ride through life on their mismatched wheels, inner and outer bodies, it is only the applicant who signifies voluntarily that he desires assistance who must pass through the painful process of having his vehicles balanced and expanded. He alone suffers the growing pains of the spirit, which explains why the lonely neophyte meets with experiences not enjoyed by the smugly complacent sleepers. But although the development and balancing process seems severe, the final victorious accomplishment is worth every effort on the part of the seeker, and sooner or later every incarnate individual must tread the path to his ultimate victory. Ascended Master Jesus. The consciousness of man one day stands before the presence of God, and the spiritual union of the will of the Father, through the self-conscious awareness of the Son, reestablishes the natural estate of every individual being who walks the way of earth. When the consciousness is no longer the plaything of the bodies, but the intelligent servant of the Overself, truly does the mission of the Self begin. This complete dedication of the outer consciousness in the deep feeling of "not my will, but thine be done," was accomplished by me before my public ministry began. It must be accomplished in like manner by everyone, particularly those who are presently being trained for the position of wayshowers to a race that sleepeth still. Ascended Master Saint Germain. In the fourth sphere dwell the Christ selves of almost every member of the human race, and from this realm is directed the life, intelligence, and substance which sustains the outer consciousness or soul in its endeavors to find purpose in being. Through free will, the outer consciousness has had the prerogative to reject the directions and authority of the Christ self, and the condition of the earth, its peoples, and the very nature kingdom show the result of such arbitrary and uncontrolled license. In January of 1952, the Christ selves placed a petition before the Lords of Karma to withdraw this free will and to allow them to assist in the progress of the race through the human personalities which they have sustained through the centuries. A messenger from the Central Sun granted a limited dispensation, allowing a certain number of Christ selves this opportunity, hoping that the results of such a merciful grant would warrant additional dispensations before the year is spent. You who read these words are among the first select circle chosen. When the masses are so compelled by an inner hunger and thirst after righteousness, it will take all your nourishment, knowledge, unfoldment, and development to fill them. This is why the Central Sun held back the full release to all the Christ selves, because a planet literally stampeding for God's law would be more chaotic than it is at present.
In waking, eating, working, dreaming, sleeping, serving, meditating, chanting, divinely loving, my soul will constantly hum, unheard by any. God God, 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 God.